Fellow cardboarders, welcome back. In this video we're going to look at the green variant that I came up with for the DANDA format, which is why we're going to bring back the long-awaited segment of
Dun 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 dun.
DANDA. So this is Genju of the Cedars. We're going to look at the whole deck list here. For 1 you get to enchant a forest, and for 2 you turn the forest into a 4/4 spirit creature, which is still a land. So it still taps for mana, but it's also 4/4 now. And this is what I always found important, which is that we can still pay few mana, in this case 2 or 1 and another 2, to create a 4/4 creature to have this rhythm of like 5 hits and you're dead. And funnily enough, when the forest that Genju of the Cedars enchants is put into the graveyard, you actually get the Genju of the Cedars back into your hand, which means that you actually get to fill back your hand a little with this enchantment and can enchant another forest with this enchantment. And since Genju of the Cedars is the main card of the deck, we're gonna call this deck Genju Genju. And the idea will be that we're gonna look at a whole bunch of cards for today. We still need more Genju of the Cedars, exactly 10. And this is why we have this letter here, which will contain even more cards for this deck. The Skullbriar actually is not part of the deck, which is a card for a brother-in-law who actually wanted to build their first commander deck. And I got Skullbriar in it, in this letter for him. How do we get in here? There we are. So this one is not part of the deck. The other part here. And yeah, if you have any ideas, feedback about the deck, let me know which cards you would include or wouldn't include, or maybe would include more of. Let's put this one to the side. This one will be a budget deck on the channel, which I'm gonna build and show off probably. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in building a cheap Skullbriar deck. This is also not part of it. I am really sorry. These we're gonna put into the Arabian Night set cube that I'm building on the channel. Not part of the video. Put them to the side. This is the focus of the video. Genju of the Cedars. I was just able to get these kind of cheap or relatively cheap, and I wanted to add them to the order, but this is the focus of the video. So Genju of the Cedars, I wanted to add, where's the rest? 10 of these. Let's see if they're all in here. We have 5 and 10, which is the usual classic amount for a DANDA format. So we have 10 here. And then the next thing that we wanted to add was the counter spell. So this is what I put in or came up with, the Avoid Fate. So for 1, you can counter an interrupt, in this case an instant today, or an enchantment spell. But it can only counter spells that target a permanent that you control. So someone maybe tries to enchant a forest of yours, and you can actually counter the spell for just 1 green mana. And there are actually not very many green counter spells, and I wanted to put in 6. I think there should be, yeah, there's the 6th. These are from Legends. I think there's a cheaper version than just Legends cards. This one looks nice. The last one I took from my Legends set cube. There's still one in the mail that I'm waiting for. These are the counter spells. These are 6 in total, but there are also 2 times the counter spell Bind in there, which counters an activated ability and draws your card for 2 mana at instant speed, obviously, and it can counter the activation of someone transforming their forest into a Genju, into a 4/4 spirit token. So, and depending on how this turns out, I haven't tested the deck yet, so this is the first time I'm showing this off, and I will test the deck. I might change some stuff, and I will let you know. The idea is that I'll try to see how many of each counterspell I like to put in. Maybe you want to test the deck list as well and let me know what you liked. Maybe I will put in more binds, or actually remove all the binds, or only put in binds and no Avoid Fates. I'll see about that. I really like the idea that it allows you to draw cards. And this one actually protects your Genjus, and I'll see how or what exactly is a nice distribution. Now, what else are we gonna do? Maybe you ask yourself, why would you want to counter something that targets your permanents? And the idea was to put in some removal cards which can kind of taint the spirits, and which is the Tainted Well and Evil Presence. So Tainted Well for 3, you draw a card, which is nice, and you turn a land into a swamp. And the second one, which is Evil Presence, it just costs 1 but draws you no card and does the same. It turns a land into a swamp. Now, what do we want to do with that? We enchant the Genjus, the forest with Genju, and when we cast Tainted Well or Evil Presence on a Genju enchanted land, what will happen is that this forest will be turned into a swamp, so it's now evil. And the Genju actually only enchants forests, and what might happen is that, or what will happen if it goes through, is that this Genju of Cedars actually dies. It goes to the graveyard, and this stays a forest which is tainted and has to get rid of. But how you can protect it is with a Avoid Fate, which targets one of your permanents, and you can counter an enchantment spell. So I wanted to have this weird but unique and funny interaction of like being able to kind of taint the lands, turn them into evil spirits, but the spirits actually die, so the whole forest kind of dies, and you turn them into evil lands, into forests, into swamps. But you can also protect their fate by using Avoid Fate. I put in 4 of these, also inspired by the amount of removal spells in a DANDA deck. So you have normally like Crystal Spray, I think, and Metamorphose, I think, and maybe the Board Wipe, which I did not include in here. I don't think there's a Board Wipe here. So you could put in some more of Evil Presence or Tainted Well if you wanted to. You could also remove some of the Avoid Fate, put in binds to just counter one activation, and then more of the Evil Presence kind of effects would go through. But this is what I came up with, and we're going to look at the rest of the cards, which is some library manipulation. And yeah, let's see what I came up with. So the next thing here, we have the Vessel of Nascency. For 1, it's another enchantment, and for 2, you can sacrifice it and reveal the top 4 cards, and reveal artifacts we don't have, creatures we don't have, enchantment or land card, we don't have planeswalkers, and put it into your hand, and then you put the rest into the graveyard. So this is kind of like a bigger manipulation spell. You can look at the top 4 and put the rest into the graveyard. And there are some nice graveyard interactions in this deck as well. So let's put these Genjus here to the side, since we all know them, what they do. And you can still see them. There are 10. We put the counter spells to the side. The Taints here. What else do we have? Oh, I have a third bind. I think I ordered one too many. Oh no, this is for my Colossus Gruul control deck, which I still haven't shown off on the channel. If you want me to show this off, let me know. So the idea here for the interaction with the graveyard is the Life from Below. We have Dredge here, which means that instead of me drawing a card, I can actually put this into my hand from the graveyard and put the top 3 cards from the library into the graveyard. And I may return up to 3 land cards when I cast this. So you have some mill interactions, and you still have the shared graveyard of Dandan, and you get the lands that get destroyed over time. There are some more land destruction cards in here, or maybe some of the lands die by blocking, and you are able to return them again. Now, similarly, the Mulch spell here to the vessel, similar to the vessel, looks at the top 4 cards, and I can put any number of lands into my hand and the rest into the graveyard. Beautiful artwork, by the way, by Rebecca Gay, and another card that allows me to put cards from the top of my library into my hand and into the graveyard. We have Reclaim to, at instant speed, put any card from the graveyard on top of the library. Now we're into the realm of who gets the card that we put up on top of here first. So maybe we put a evil presence on top and my opponent tries to draw it. There are also like some cycling cards obviously in the deck. We have rending vines for 3. You can destroy, well, we have no artifacts, we have enchantments. Destroy an enchantment if it costs less or equal to the number of cards in hand. Well, the important enchantments are these, but we can also unevil any of our lands if we wanted to, and we even draw a card for 3 mana at instant speed. This would also protect Avoid Fate if it destroys any of our enchantments. So if we tainted any of the opponent's lands and someone wants to destroy our enchantment on an opponent's land, we can even avoid fate to keep it evil, which is kind of a nice touch. We also have some top deck manipulation with Trackdown. For 2, we scry 3 and reveal the top card of the library. If it is a, well, we don't have creatures, land card, we draw the card and we keep the rest of the 3, the 2, top 2 we keep on there with the information for us to know what our opponent's probably gonna draw. We have this 4 times in the deck. Most of the cards are only 2 times in the deck, as you can see, besides the main cards of the deck with the Genjus and the Avoid Fate. We have, oh yeah, I remember, we have a board wipe. So there is a board wipe here, which is Hush, which actually destroys all the enchantments. Just like that. So we can cycle it if we feel great and we just want to cycle it, but then our opponent can play a Reclaim and maybe get the board wipe. We have always to keep that in mind. But it destroys all the enchantments, all the even presences, all the Genjus are just destroyed. So that is a way for 4 mana to destroy everything. I thought of putting cards like Tranquility or so in there, but I liked the versatility of Hush to be able to also cycle, and if we don't want to cycle, we can destroy all creatures. So this is a nice touch in my opinion. Still expensive, not as cheap as the, was it Vision Charm, the blue one that destroys all the Dandans? Let me know if I'm mistaken, but that is the idea. We have crop rotation. Maybe we need a specific land. Maybe we need a forest. Maybe all our forests are destroyed. We need to enchant a new forest. We could get a forest by playing crop rotation. You might have already peeked at a land, which we might also want to tutor, which is maybe the Dakmor Salvage, which has Dredge too. So if we're able to put this into the graveyard, we can actually start dredging more. This one is in there twice. I'll put it to the side through the lands pile. We still have some cards to go through. We have some Fog here, which prevents all damage that would be dealt this turn, just generally, to anyone. And it also has cycling. So if we feel good, we can just draw another card off of this, which is a really nice spell in my opinion. Then we have some annoying spell like Plow Under, which I'm gonna try out and see how it feels for 5, which is our big spell in this deck, similar to the supplant form in the blue deck, in the classical Dandan deck. It puts any 2 lands from our opponent on top of their library. We can actually kill again some enchanted Genjus with that, but maybe they also have some important utility lands which we're gonna get rid of or wanna get rid of, or maybe draw ourselves. And yeah, they lose 2 lands, so that's kind of mean, but also, in my opinion, quite interesting to see how we fight over lands when we play Green Dandân. We have Explore. We're able to ramp as well, so we can play an additional land, but we also draw a card. I only put this in twice because I didn't want someone to have like a very big advantage by having 3 explorers and just ramping on ahead. So I only put in 2 for now. And then we have the Reset as well, which is the Chaos Blessing, which has some interesting effects for 2. We can either shuffle up to 3 cards from a graveyard into the library, and then we draw a card. But if it gets dredged, if it falls in any way into the graveyard, it shuffles the whole graveyard into the library, which I really like. Again, beautiful artwork by Rebecca Gay, but it's like a accidental reset. So you can scry, you know, some information up here. You could also kind of reclaim it maybe. I don't think so. No, you can't drop it in any way, just discard it in any way. No, so you can't reclaim it, but with the Vessel you can actually reset the graveyard at instant speed if you already know what is up there. With Mulch, again, you can trigger it, but also with Dredge, accidentally you can trigger it. So this is an interesting reset, which I found in mono green. So the inclusion of the color black is only to taint the lands. Now, let's look at our mana base. We are playing the Fallen Empires lands, which is the Havenwood Battleground. It comes into play tapped and taps for a green, and you get up to 2 mana if you sacrifice it. And we are also playing the Rot Farm, which is the kind of the dual land here, which also returns a land, so we can get the Dugmore Salvage into our hand if we wanted to. We are playing a second copy of Dugmore Salvage here, as well as a Temple of Melody to manipulate the library a little more. We have the cycling lands for 1 mana and the cycling lands for 2 mana, and then for the rest of the deck. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do help this channel out by subscribing to this channel so we can reach the 100 subscriber mark. We're playing 20 forests here. I'll change the artworks to have some more diversity, but I just picked up the first ones to make this video, and the whole deck list is in the description below. I will test this deck out and let you know how it performs, if I changed anything. I will also update the deck list if I actually changed some things. Do let me know if you would include any cards or wouldn't, or change something. Just let me know. Let's have some nice conversations down in the comments below. Happy dandaning, be kind to the people around you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.